and welcome to an AMB303 presentation. My name is Sam, and today I'll be talking to you about this thing right here, the strategic profit model. Now, a lot of you are probably looking at this image and struggling to understand, much less related to logistics. So, over the course of the next 5 minutes, I'll be breaking down the key components of the strategic profit model and explaining how it can be used to examine the effects of logistics decisions. So, the strategic profit model gives us a visual view of an organization's finances and provides us with the ability to understand and analyze that organization's financial performance and return on investments. However, to put it in a way that's a little bit easier to digest, the strategic profit model shows us how effective a business is at using its equipment and inventories to generate profit. This model is made up of 3 key components: net profit margin, asset turnover, and financial leverage. Through the use of 2 equations, here and here, this model utilizes a ratio analysis methodology. First, the net profit margin and asset turnover are multiplied to give us our return on assets figure, which is then multiplied by the equity multiplier, leaving us with the business's return on net worth figure. This figure shows us how well a firm utilizes its shareholder investment and is a useful method of comparing one firm's performance against another. However, potential investors are not the only people that can benefit from this model. Logistics managers can use the strategic profit model to identify the strengths and weaknesses of their supply chain and, in turn, make effective logistics decisions to increase both shareholder value and the overall profitability of the business. The first component of the strategic profit model is the net profit margin. The net profit margin is the percentage of each sales dollar that is kept by the business as profit. This figure is calculated by using this formula right here. The net profit margin is controlled by both the business's sales and expense figures. Increasing sales while simultaneously decreasing expenses will ultimately lead to a higher net profit margin. If a firm is showing a net profit margin below that of what they expect, logistics managers can use this model to examine and evaluate their current decisions. Using this model, logistics managers can gain a visual representation of either exactly where they need to be reducing their expenses in their production line, or how changes they've already made have affected the company's net profit margin. The second key component of this model is the asset turnover. The asset turnover measures how efficient a business is at creating revenue from its assets and can be calculated using this formula. The higher the asset turnover ratio, the better. A high asset turnover ratio is an indication that the business is moving stock in and out at a good pace. The faster stock is being sold, the better, as the longer the inventories remain at the business, the more logistic expenses, such as storage costs or costs to keep products fresh, are accrued. Logistics managers can use the asset turnover ratio to examine the current success of any decisions or even evaluate any new ideas regarding inventory management. For instance, if a store has an extremely high turnover rate, then a possible downsizing in storage might reveal itself to be an option in order to reduce logistical expenses. The final key component of the strategic profit model is financial leverage. Financial leverage is measured by the equity multiplier ratio. In essence, financial leverage shows us how much debt a business can take on relative to said business's equity. As a business takes on more debt, shareholder returns may also increase. However, so too does the risk of bankruptcy, as the business might not be able to repay its debts. Logistics managers are able to use financial leverage for things such as negotiating better payment terms with suppliers, in which they might pay using credit in order to get stock faster. The equity multiplier ratio allows us to monitor when the business begins to take on too high a level of debt and therefore act accordingly. So, that covers the key aspects of the strategic profit model. To recap, we had the net profit margin, which tells us how much profit from every sales dollar a business is retaining. We had the asset turnover, which allows us to know how efficiently a business is generating sales from its assets. And we had financial leverage, which keeps us in the know of how much debt a business can take on relative to its equity. Looking back, it's clear now that each key component of the strategic profit model gives us a fantastic insight into the various logistics decisions that logistic managers need to make.